Lucky you!
Best 36 holes in golf.
You tuned in to Alternate Shots Podcast,
Arnie's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Marquis, Sandy's,
poker,
Bond, James Bond.
horse racing,
I'm all in.
great movies.
Alfred Hitchcock.
We have no script.
And down the stretch they come.
We're glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Whoop, let's start again.
Coming forward nicely is Tunchi, and losing a touch of ground there was Erosa. King of the track is off the track, making ground. Behind them, Super Attentive go with Gusto starting to run, and out to the back, Carson's run to the extreme outside. And Joel Rosario trying to go for broke now. My Boy Prince in the Summer Stakes from Western World. Here's Carson's run.
Zenyatta.
What a slingshot run down the outside by Dylan Davis. Carson's run storming out wide. They're wide apart. Carson's run and My Boy Prince flat up against the inside, and they are well clear. A go with Gusto running on, but down extremely wide on the track. Carson's run and powering on for a fantastic win. Dylan Davis and Carson's run by about 2 or 3 lengths. My Boy Prince has run second. Go with Gusto third.
That's just like what they call Steve Bouchey off the first tee, powering it down the fairway. Steve Bouchey, the owner of Carson's Run. Billy, we're joined by royalty here in the racing world. Steve, thanks so much for coming on Alternate Shots Podcast and entertaining at least Billy and me today.
Well, thanks, guys. I'm honored to be on with you. And I do a radio show every week. They say I have a face for radio, so I appreciate your comments.
I have the same face. And I think the same love of horse racing. Carson's run, that was a good turf that day as opposed to firm. Santa Anita is probably going to be firm. Was that going to help, hinder, or be neutral for you guys?
Well, we had the post draw last night, and Carson's Run came in at 14. And,
Yeah, way on the outside.
I was kind of saying, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. But after watching the replay of that race,
He likes
he
it
was
out
as
there.
wide as he can be.
Yeah.
Free and clear, nobody in his way, and he won handsomely. Dylan Davis, he's an up-and-coming jockey. This is his first time at the big dance, and we have all confidence in Dylan. He's ridden Carson's Run for his first 3 races. We won our maiden. We came in second in the anticipation stake, lost to a filly, Galibrand, who's running in the juvenile fillies Friday as well. So thank God she's not in our race. I saw the owners, they were going to put her in our race. I said, no, please keep her by herself. Keep her with the ladies.
Well, she was life and death. She was life and death to beat Carson's Run that day.
But no, Carson's Run, and 17 days after losing by a nose in the anticipation stakes in Saratoga, Miguel Clement called me and said, Steve, I think I want to send Carson's Run up to Woodbine. I really feel good about Carson's Run, and he may have a chance. 17 days later, we send him up, and doesn't he win, as you just saw the replay, and won quite handsomely. I was really, and with my silks on to boot. I mean, listen, when you have a grade 1 race, when you're in with my silks, it doesn't get much better than that.
Not for you, it doesn't. And I saw Carson's Run finished, 24-2 for the last quarter on a good surface. That's not bad time, especially when he's not responsible for the fractions. And he kicked clear. There was no doubt. He won off by 2 1/4 lengths. You're going to run into some competition with Endlessly, who has sort of the same running style. Have you looked at that?
Yeah, I've been looking at them all. We got a good field, and obviously when we bring in some of those foreign athletes and put them in the race, it's funny. A funny story. I'm actually out at Santa Anita now, and I came out of my hotel 5:45. It's dark out. The shuttle's waiting for me. I get on. Everybody around me is literally Irish. I mean, you can't, and not because they were drinking beers that early. You can just tell when somebody's Irish, correct? So
Absolutely.
Billy hasn't been Irish since, 40 years ago?
Yeah. So who sits right next to me but Aiden? And I'm saying, am I on the wrong shuttle? We are going to Santa Anita. There's, long story short, we get to the gate that I thought we were going to. And Aiden says, no, we need to go on. And the whole time Aiden has, oh God, the jockey's name's going,
Brian
so
Moore.
yeah, right. So
He's
it's
got
me, Ryan,
Frankie
and
Corey.
Aiden. And Aiden is giving Ryan a lesson on how he wants him to ride. And I'm looking at this. I said, I'm pitching myself. I said, this is pretty cool. So don't we go to a gate and everybody gets off the bus? Aiden looks back at me. He's such a gentleman. He looks at me. He says, geez, he says, I'm thinking about leaving my bag on. I said, well, be careful. I mean, the shuttle's going to be going back and forth, right? And Aiden looks at the driver and says, you're going to be here for me, right? And the driver says, yeah. And Aiden says, you're actually not with us, are you, Steve? I said, no, I thought this was the hotel shuttle to the track. I said, this was your private shuttle. So I had a pretty good start of the morning before the sun came up over the mountains. It was really pretty cool start. Then I got to see Carson's run. I actually went to visit him. He's such a gentle giant. I mean, just a good horse, comes right up to you. Not all horses are like that. One of my first horses was Keen Ice. And actually, that was my first horse. I was in a syndicate back then. Now I'm buying them direct. But I was in a syndicate with Donegal, and I was a spokesperson because I was from Saratoga the morning after he beat American Pharoah in the Travers. And I'm looking at Keen Ice, and I'm kind of, holding his head. I turn to talk to the reporter, and doesn't Keen Ice come down and chomp down on my arm? I look back at him, and he's a nipper. A real nipper. Fast forward. So that was 8 years ago. So last spring, I bring a couple friends, Mario and Neil, down from my club in Florida to Lexington, and we go to see Keen Ice. He is bigger than life. And doesn't he come out? Now you think he's rested, right? He's out there grazing. He's kind of doing his thing 200 times a year. You get the picture. I think he's relaxed. They take his eyes off him. He nipped me again. Carson's run is a real gentle teddy bear compared to Keen Ice. So there's different spectrums of horses. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Keen Ice. Let's talk about
you've been around the block
Breeders'
a
Cup.
couple times, Steve. Who's got a better behind, Kim Kardashian or Carson's run? Come on, I was looking at the back end of your horse. That's something.
Carson's runs behind is all natural, Bob. All natural.
Yeah, but he might not make as much money with it as she does.
This is true. This is true.
You said you were in there among Aiden O'Brien and his crew, and you were listening to him talking to the jockey. Anything you want to let out? Any information for us? It's like you got to be sitting in on the quarterback's huddle.
Well,
a linebacker from another team.
You're here for a lot. Yesterday, I was in the post draw, and Jenna was interviewed about Arcangelo, and there was just something that, you just kind of wondered if Arcangelo was healthy. And this morning, didn't they scratch him and retired him? So he won't be racing in the Breeders' Cup.
Breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I thought he was. I thought he was on his way to the stars.
Yeah, you and I both.
And her with it. She's an excellent trainer, an excellent person. Great for the sport.
Oh, to see that win in the Belmont, to see her be the first woman trainer, to see Javier Castellano, he rode Keen Ice 8 years ago. To see all of that play out, that was, horse racing needs some good stories. That was a great story, and that was truly to be with them and watch that happen. That was good for the sport of horse racing.
Yeah, and I think we only saw the tip of the iceberg. I think that horse had a lot more in front of him.
Yeah. They're fragile. You think, 1,200 pound, athletes on 4 what seems to be twigs of legs. Yeah. I mean, it's just, they're true athletes.
It's going to make that race a lot more competitive in the betting windows.
Well, it sure will. That changes the dynamic a little bit. I'm thinking about taking some money out of my wife's IRA and putting it on Carson's run to show.
Carson's run. I'm giving you a neutral handicapping analysis, and I have him in the top 3 for sure. Endlessly is the only one I'm really worried about. I think those two guys are gonna bust out near the top of the stretch or making a turn for home. They both have great acceleration. It's going to be a humdinger. And I'm rooting for Dylan Davis, who is an underrated, very good jockey and from a horse racing family that seems to have limitless numbers of people.
Well, it's funny you say that, Billy, because he's been in the saddle all three of Carson's Run's races. He knows the horse. He's worked out with the horse in the morning up in Saratoga, and he's an up and comer. He's never been to the big dance, and I'm a loyal guy. I am so happy that Dylan is riding Carson's Run. We could have gotten a more, let's say, experienced jockey. And some may say, geez, you probably should have for this big race. But I kind of like the underdog. I'm an underdog kind of a guy. I kind of like the underdog, and I kind of like the fact that Dylan, he's gonna wanna win this race.
Yeah,
And
he's going
he
to be
and
hungry.
yeah, he and I are gonna talk, and I'm gonna tell him it's like golf. You gotta believe it. And he's gotta, when he gets in that saddle, he just has to believe that he's going to win that race. And obviously we know he can win being wide because he showed that in the summer stakes that you started off the show with. So I'm happy that Dylan's in the saddle, whatever the outcome, and I'm hoping that Carson's Run is in the middle. It's just nice to be in the Breeders' Cup. Not many people get this opportunity.
I think Dylan's good enough to find himself a spot in the middle of the pack on the way to the first turn. I
I
think
do too.
the kid is very good. He's very competitive in New York, and that's not a good place, easy place to be competitive. Easier now than it used to be, but
Sorry, Steve.
Yeah,
Your
go.
is really great. It's sort of like Eric Cole and Reed Cochran. Eric Cole's had quite a run. He's just a couple bucks short of $5 million, and he's still got some more trees to pull money off of. And he's staying with Russ's son Reed, and I'm sure they're having a ball. We talked to, I think you saw the Eric Cole episode about a month ago, and Billy said on the episode, when you come back after you win, when you come back, will you come back on the show? And he said, sure. Well, darn it, if he didn't have two good chances out of three to win. And they must be having a ball. I mean, you know how horse racing and golf is similar because you face more losses than any other sport.
Well, I'm fortunate to be friends with Eric Cole. I've golfed with Eric Cole, and like Dylan. So Dylan comes from a horse racing family. Dylan is as nice as he can be. You saw that ride in Woodbine where he took him from way back, dead last, and maneuvered his way and rode him brilliantly. And that's why I think I agree with Billy. Dylan is really going to be the jockey to be on Carson's Run in my mind. I'm all behind him. And Eric Cole, he is the poster boy for the PGA. Eric Cole is as nice as they come. He comes from a golfing family, obviously, and he is as nice as they come. And for him to golf with somebody like me, believe me, I have all I can do. I heard you start off saying down the first fairway. Listen, sometimes it takes me two to get to the first fairway.
Billy, don't listen to this guy. He just won the Big Skins tournament last weekend and beat all the hustlers at Tequesta Country Club. But you're right. Eric Cole, I thought I knew the nicest guy on the planet. He's a member of Wingfoot. His name is Billy Mangan. And if you're ever fortunate enough to meet him, you'll never forget it because it's like going into the Bloomingdale's counter and the girl's spurting perfume. His niceness comes off of you, and you're nice for at least a couple of weeks after you see him. Eric is the same way.
yeah, you feel guilty by not being nice afterwards.
Yeah, no, he's a true gentleman. He is just I'm so happy for him. And I asked him on the 18th playoff hole for the Honda Classic. He will tell you he hits that hybrid. I think it's 240 degrees on the money. He was 240 out. He hit his hybrid. What he forgot about was his adrenaline, and he hit that hybrid, I think 260 into that back bunker. Just that was his tournament. But he's going to win, and I think he's going to be around for a long time. And I'm so happy for Eric.
Back on the horses. So I have a quick question from an amateur horse guy. In this race we looked at, Carson's Run came from behind. Now he's racing a bunch of different kind of horses, probably high quality horses, but the quality's got to be better in this race. How do you think the horse will race in the Breeders' Cup?
Well, and you hit it on the head. The quality of horses in this race is just superb. I mean, athletes, from all around the world coming in for this race, and it's going to be a different race. What we have going for us is they're still babies. They're just 2-year-olds. And that's something that you never know how a 2-year-old may act up. And that, I think, is what we have to remember. We've seen Carson's run in 3 races now where he really looks pretty solid. So I'm forever the optimist. And I just think that, these horses, it's not like they're 3, 4, 5-year-olds. They're still just youngins. They're all babies. And anything can happen in this race. That's the only thing I have going for me, being a 2-year-old in a race of this caliber. The thing that I do question, though, and we need, Carson's run isn't good with the early speed, and obviously being that wide, as you said, Dylan has to find a way to make it happen. But to race that many horses in a race on the grass that close to a turn, I question if that's really, let's say, how do I say it, as fair for 2-year-olds to have 14 horses in this race. Should it be more like 10 horses? I don't know. I'm still naive when it comes to horse racing. What do I know? But I do wonder. It seems like a lot of horses for such a for these babies to be racing on grass so close to a turn. So that's what we have going against us. But Dylan, I'm hopeful, is going to find his way.
On paper, it doesn't look like there's an overwhelming amount of speed, maybe 2 or 3 horses. I can't tell about Aidan O'Brien's horses for sure, but I guess my boy Prince will try and make the lead. Carson's run seems to be a stretch runner. I prefer that, actually. And he does hold the race's highest buyer figure, along with Endlessly, with an 80. And his buyers are going straight up, which is always a good sign for me. So even if I wasn't talking to you, Carson's run would be a very serious contender for getting my money.
Yeah, nope, I agree. Listen, I'm really excited about this race. I think Carson's run has a lot to prove, and I think it's going to be a good horse race. Different caliber than the race up at Woodbine, but I think it's going to be truly a good horse race.
Well, he dispatched that group at Woodbine. That was almost an easy victory. He could have won by more. He could have started sooner. There's a lot of things that he showed up there, not the least of which was he dominated that field.
Yep. True.
There's your boy. How pretty. Have you seen a prettier horse? And I know that you're biased, but I mean,
how can you even compare him to anybody with the name of Kardashian?
well, let me roll this. Let me roll this.
Big horse.
Let me roll this, and let's get the back end of this thing, and then I'll tell you what I was thinking about.
Oh man,
okay.
This is real. This back end is real.
Yeah, this is all hay and oats, huh?
There's nothing. I mean, we're talking all horse here, baby. Look at that butt.
There's not a scratch on this horse. Aren't there usually scratches from hitting a rail or hitting a whip or another horse, Steve?
No, this horse is as I said, I was with him just a little while ago before our podcast today, and I can't believe how calm, cool, and collected he seems. He's in his stall. He just kind of did a little walk around, and he's just a good horse. Came right over to me like we're longtime buddies. Just a good horse.
You keep him in Florida?
No, actually, he's been up in Saratoga, and we just shipped him in on Sunday here. And from here, I'm thinking he's going down to Payson's Park. Christophe and Miguel Clement, 2 phenomenal father-son training team. I love these guys. I've been with these guys. I've been friends with these guys forever. They have most of the horses that I have. I just trust these guys. They're good trainers. They're good to their horses. They're good to their staff, their team. They are just wonderful guys, and they take most of their horses down to Payson's Park, just outside of Jupiter, for the winter, and kind of give them a rest. And I haven't talked to Miguel or Christoph yet on this, but I'm pretty sure Carson's Run will be headed to Payson's Park after this weekend.
Well, Christoph excels on the turf. I mean, he's a great trainer all the way around, but you put a good turf horse in his hands, he knows what to do with it.
The only thing I feel bad about with Christoph, so Miguel, my son Ryan, and I had dinner the week of the Belmont when Tonalist won. And, I was all for Tonalist going back, I think, 9 years ago, when I was just, kind of interested to be a horse enthusiast and how do I get into the game. And they kind of coached me and so forth. These guys are just solid guys. The only thing I feel bad about is Sister Marjorie in high school. I took French 1, I took French 2. She would not let me take French 3. And when these guys talk to me, it's like, say that again? I have to listen for every word. I love these guys. I mean, listen, they can talk and to me in French all day long. I have no idea what they're saying. But I wish Sister Marjorie let me go on to French 3 because I may have just a heads up with them.
Well, you understand what they're saying when they say, smile for the picture in the winner's circle.
I notice Carson has pretty good peripheral vision. Is that accurate?
No, I think you're right, Bob.
I think if Hogan had this, he'd have won twice as many majors, and same with Tommy Armour. They didn't have the vision. Tommy Armour, because he got gassed in World War I, he lost his sight on his left eye, so there goes the peripheral vision. And Hogan lost his peripheral vision in the accident.
With better peripheral vision, Hogan might have realized there were other people playing with him.
He'd have realized Claude Harmon had a hole-in-one on 12 at Augusta. He didn't even notice that. Oh, I know what I want to ask you this question. So Billy and I love the movie Let It Ride. And that last scene where he's about to win his 4th race in a row, and he's got all the money. They have to go to the counting room. And they have such elation. They go heads over tails when he wins with that horse, they go over in the high-end lunchroom, dining room, right, Billy? And that, yeah. Billy talks about elation. What's elation mean to someone like you?
Listen, I come from humble beginnings. I've worked hard for the last 34 years building my business, and I don't take anything for granted in life. And when I became a horse enthusiast, obviously growing up in upstate New York, and I actually grew up in Troy, which is a half hour south of Saratoga. So, living in Troy and Saratoga now, the horse races is part of what you do every summer. It's a summer place to be. Did you ever hear of that? And it truly is the summer place to be. So when I decided, my business was at a point where I could kind of, do some hobbies, and I decided I wanted to get more into horse racing. So 8 years ago, as I shared with you, one of my first partnerships that I got involved in was Donegal and Keen Ice. I mean, he took me right to the top within months. I mean, that was as exciting as it could be to be in the Travers, beat American Pharoah, Breeders' Cup, Pegasus, Dubai. I mean, how does it get any better than that? And as a partner in Donegal Racing taught me a lot. My next partnership was with Woodford, and we had a horse called Catapult. And we were just talking about John Sadler being out here in his neighborhood. This is his neighborhood, and Catapult was in a Pegasus as well. I've been lucky I forget how many Pegasus has there been. I've been in 4 of them. So I've been lucky as a young guy, but this is different. This weekend is different because now, in that Woodbine Stakes race, it was my Silks on the horse. I'm partners with West Point Thoroughbreds. Terry Finley he comes from West Point. He's an amazing guy. His classmate from Wood Point, his son is named Carson. He has the Wolf Hirschberg syndrome. He's, same illness as Cody's Wish, what Cody's Wish is named after. So Carson's Run, Terry wanted to name him after his classmate's son. And I said, absolutely. So there's a story with this horse beyond horse racing. And Carson's dad is going to be here. I'm looking forward to meeting him. So to know that I'm, part owner with West Point. So West Point and I are partners in this horse, and Terry Finley is as good as it gets. Obviously, graduating from West Point, you just have to look up to those guys and gals. But to be at this race is pretty huge. If we win this race, it will be, it'll be over the top. It'll be to the moon and back. It'll be really dynamic. But I'm just excited knowing that I have a horse in one of the Breeders' Cup races, because it's few and far between. Two of the best days of racing in the world, the best horses from all around the world. It's pretty special. I guess you can see I'm pretty elated now just talking about it.
Oh, that's great.
You might go off the favorite.
Well, it'll be an interesting morning odds. We'll see. And it's funny, you started off talking about the turf. I got a bird's eye view here in Santa Anita. And we were talking this morning about it, the way the sun was reflecting off the turf. It looks a little like choppy out there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that turf is ready for Friday's racing, and how Carson's Run takes to that turf. It'll be really interesting.
When you say choppy, is it like a golf fairway that's just been aerated?
It's a guy, like you, Bob, you're out there, you're taking all those divots, you know how to hit down on the ball, and you got to replace those divots. You and Eric Cole are two of a kind, aren't you?
No, he doesn't take a divot. He hits the ball first and then walks after it 5 feet from the hole. This is terrific. And, I will say that we are on a little bit of a gambler's roll, right, Billy? We had some very good golf karma in the last month. We interviewed James Nicholas. He won the first stage of the Q School qualifying for Corn Ferry, going away, shot 23 under par. Eric's bundled up another 7 figures in 3 weeks, and I hope we can just push this Royal Flush karma on you and your team. It would be so exciting.
I said we put Arcangelo in the winner's circle for the Travers. Let's put Carson's Run in the winner's circle here for the Breeders' Cup.
So you know what? The hotel I'm staying at has a spa, and I'm going to get my hair and nails done just in case I get my picture taken. I want to look good, guys.
Yep, you got to look for the picture.
You're going to look good, and we just want to see. We want to see a big elbow to Baffert. Get the hell out of my picture when you get your picture taken. How's that? That would be so priceless.
Who?
Well, as Billy said to Eric Cole, after this is done, maybe he'll come back and talk to us and share with our viewers and us the elation. Either way, we just think this is great.
How about Russ Cochran? Talk about nice guys, right?
There aren't many better than Russ Cochran.
I mean, you put Eric Cole and Russ Cochran in the same sentence, you got two of the nicest guys in golf from both ends of the spectrum. No, I'm excited, guys. I'm hoping listen, win or lose, whatever place we come in, I'm elated just to be here. If I spend the money to get my hair and nails done and it's worth it because I'm in the picture, that means that I got a few more dollars coming my way from the purse, which isn't a bad thing.
And Billy and I might be there too.
God willing, plenty of future for Carson's Run, regardless of the outcome of this race. So he's got a lot of career in front of him.
He sure does. You just pray to God that all riders, all athletes stay safe, finished across the finish line in a good, healthy way. That's all we ask for.
What's the weather? Is it like 70-ish?
Absolutely. I mean, can you see? Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, and it's going to be this way all week long. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Not like the Belmont, right? Remember the Belmont?
No.
There was that smoke coming from Canada down to New York. Oh,
Yeah, it was almost canceled.
Yeah.
Between smoke and rain this summer, I'm telling you. You know, last year at Saratoga, I think we pulled 5 races off the turf because of rain. This year, almost 70 races came off the turf because of rain. So you look at a horse like Carson's Run, how lucky was he to have a couple of his races on the turf and have him be able to race on the turf. So many horses did not have that opportunity because of all the rain.
all right. Well, this has been wonderful, and all I can say is Kim Kardashian, eat your heart out.
Look at that butt.
I know.
Do you have the picture of me with Carson's this morning?
Yeah, I'm going to put that up. You'll see that in the finished product.
Oh man.
Without your
This
nails
is
done, though. How can we put it
this
up
is
without the nails done?
even the Kardashian gals may be interested in dating a guy like Carson's Run. I mean, look at with a butt like that, you know this guy is built like a real true racehorse. He's a stud.
And he's not going to give them any back talk.
All right. This has been great, Steve. You got a lot of things to do. You're such a class act to join us, and thanks so much for your time. I'm sure everybody's going to have a laugh and now a new rooting interest in Carson's Run.
Billy, thank you.
Say hi to Chris when you see him out there. I know he'll be out there. He's hoping Beer Can Man makes the cut, but right now he's needs 2 scratches in that race.
Yeah, I will. Thank you, gentlemen, for thinking of me for today. I hope I didn't bore you or the audience. And listen, as I said, for both of you guys, if you put $2 a show on Carson's Run, I'll reimburse you if he doesn't pay.
Okay.
We got that on tape, Billy. Why are you laughing?
Well, at least we have the laugh to add at the end.
Thanks for joining us
Casper,
today.
Billy
We
Harmon,
really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity,
And please
Arky,
subscribe to the
Two
show
Router,
and hit the
Claude
bell
Harmon,
icon so you get notified
Movie
of
Classics,
new episodes.
Mark Gable,
Hit 'em
Odd
hard
Job,
and hit 'em off.
Best 36 Holes.